Hello friends, hope you had a pretty good Chinese New Year. I'm back and let's get right into the video. So we're going to talk about the proposed Trump tariffs. Obviously this is big news, or rather it's news that has been around for a long time and it's always headline grabbing. Too busy to find stock ideas? Check out Fiverr Pro to shortcut your research time and effort by 90%. 10% off link in the comments and description. So in essence, Trump is trying to slap tariffs as a bargaining chip, on especially his neighbors, the United States' largest top 5 trading partners. And so no surprise, someone like Mexico and Canada are receiving the biggest brunt of it, 25% tariffs. And of course, China is there as well. Although I have to say it's very interesting that he only slapped 10% versus Mexico and Canada. But, apparently China is the mortal enemy. But anyways, despite that, there's actually a threat, right? 30 to 60% if they don't comply with certain things. So far, if I'm not mistaken, Mexico and Canada has given some sort of concessions. Like, for example, Mexico is very related to fentanyl. So fentanyl is this very deadly drug that is being shipped into the United States through Mexico. And the president of Mexico have already said, hey, no, we're going to send 10,000 troops to the border to ensure that, we control the supply a little bit better. So then there's a pause.
Yeah, there's a pause.
So with China, something somewhat similar, that because there are a lot of illegal Chinese immigrants going into the United States. They go through South America or Central America, Ecuador and Mexico and all that. Then they break through the very porous border of the south of the US. You guys can actually Google Chinese immigrants, illegal immigrants, the United States, you can see. And then there's probably China say, look, we'll take back all these illegals. And then there's a little bit of a pause. For the rest, I'm not too sure. But yeah, give us the breakdown.
Yeah, this one, it's more of a universal kind of like tariff against the whole world. Simply because he needs to find a way to make money for the country and also to reduce tax for the Americans. So that's why he's doing all of these. I would say he's just plugging in numbers for at the moment. And as you mentioned, it's a bargaining chip. In case, if let's say the countries didn't really abide by his demand, then probably he will retaliate even further. So this is just like a just in case number only. He'll start small, then after that, if let's say they didn't comply, then he'll go big. So, but this is just the entire overview on each of these countries' tariff. It's not only just like Canada, Mexico, and China. There's also like other countries like the EU and even every single country that is doing trading with the US. So the expectation right now for 2025's trade war, as you mentioned, this is going to be a negotiation tactic, which means one day he'll say this, the other day he'll say maybe he will not do that.
Yeah, this was actually anticipated. If some of you attended our live or maybe some previous videos, I already mentioned that there's a very good chance that he will reverse US policies, whatever he says, and so whatever previous president says. I think TikTok is the best example, and of course now the tariffs and all that.
Yeah. And then the second one, the tariff is going to be longer than expected because he has 4 years, right? So this is different from 2018's one because 2018, if you recall, the tariff only happened around his third and fourth year of his election time.
Yeah.
So 2018, 2019. So this is going to be very long. And the third one is going to be less process time. As you can see, 2018, it took some time before it implement. Right now, it's just like instantly. They straight away just approve whatever tariff that is needed to be there. So that's why less process time. The market will definitely jitter around these policies. And the last but not least is going to be more universal, meaning to say instead of just like a product based or product category, it's going to be more country based. And whatever country that, especially those is doing like a trade deficit with the US, right? They'll be the one that is going to getting target.
Fair enough.
Yep. So past and future, you can see that during trade war, 2018, 2019, there is some sort of like uncertainty. The VIX index did peak a little bit. You can see it over here, the gray color one. So you can expect that the VIX index also for 2025, potentially throughout the years also will be quite volatile, up and down. But yeah, the market if you look at it so far, I think 2018 to 2019 there was a correction for the S&P 500 about like 14%. Yeah, if I can recall correctly. So right now S&P 500 is at its all-time high. It's still not really like going down because so far the policies are like it's not really real at the moment unless if it's really come into like implementation, then probably you kind of like take a hitting for some of the companies. Main targets. So you can see that the companies the countries that have a huge trade deficit with the US will be the most will be likely to be targeted. So China, Mexico, EU, and also Vietnam. Yeah. So if let's say there's a Malaysian company that has a base or plant in Vietnam, most likely they will be impacted.
Yeah, and recently I think Malaysia was somewhat accused of smuggling, right? Certain AI chip related stuff, and then I think Tengku Zafrul had to come out and
say had to say like no, we didn't.
It denies the allegations, basically.
Yep, exactly. But yeah, so the highlighted ones also is probably another few key countries that probably they will also like pay attention to, especially those that has a huge trade deficit. So behind this graph, you can see that ASEAN shipment to the US has grew strongly. Over here, you can see these the gray color one, but they don't really ship a lot to the China. So what is the truth is that you are thinking that ASEAN is doing a good job. I mean, they are getting more market share from the China. But in reality is that Chinese companies are setting bases in ASEAN country. That's why they can manage to ship more and trade more with the US. So yeah, we are, it's actually this one. Basically Vietnam, Malaysia, Thailand, and basically other Southeast Asia that help China, or China already set base over there and they kind of like export to the US. So over here is going to be the most vulnerable one in terms of getting tariff.
Yeah, I think what Malaysia can and should do is to basically go to Trump and say, look, we want to invest in the US so that we can help equalize this trade balance, and please give us some benefits or whatever as a Malaysia to invest in your country, and then just do it. And if you want to use it as a dragging tactic, you can do that as well. Like just talk to Trump and say, yeah, we want to do it. Sometimes you drag long enough, 4 years passes, and then not an issue anymore. So I think that should be our approach rather than what we have now, which is quite passive.
Yeah. Passive and also leaning towards like joining the BRICS, which is to
I think that's also bad. That we want to join the BRICS. Yeah.
Okay, so some of the sectors that will be affected over here, based on each of these trade partners, right? You can see for each of the graph. You can pause the video. For Canada, for example, it's going to be impacting their manufacturing, steel, aluminium, energy, especially energy, and also food, agriculture. So you want to take note of all of these countries. If let's say you are invested in any of these countries' stock exchanges. However, China was prepared for it already, unlike in 2018, 2019. This one, they already dish out a lot of these fiscal stimulus. Basically, they just like pump in a lot of money to the market and to the country. And also on top of that, they even impose a tariff in return against the US for certain products. So yeah, they are pretty much very prepared for it already. You can see that some of the other things that they even do is like export control. So certain key material that the US need for their semiconductor and electronics, these are critical materials like lithium, gallium, germanium. This one, they're going to be doing some sort of like export control, not going to like export a lot towards them. I think this is also one of the negotiation tactics for China or Xi Jinping. So most likely the US and the China people, they were going to be like negotiating in terms of this one. And they are also the largest US Treasury for the United States. Yeah. Initially, I think they have like a 1.5 trillion. Then it went down to 800 billion. So they've been selling a lot of it. And basically they have a lot of gunpowder and they are ready for a tariff fight. And this is an interesting graph because you can see that on one side, the US, right, potentially because of tariff, it will kind of like create a inflationary environment in the country. You can see already Fed didn't really didn't really cut rates anymore. So they are taking a very cautious approach and not do anything. Meanwhile, China, it is still facing like a deflation. And they are coming down from the bottom because of the property crisis. So you can see that US is inflation, China is deflation. It's both extreme. Okay, so final thoughts is that Trump will be a market mover. You can see that the moment when he implemented the tariff, 25% tariff against Mexico and Canada, the market didn't like it. That's why it corrected. I think it was like during the day when he said he wanted to officiate and he signed basically.
I think as we speak, there's aluminium tariff, right?
Yeah, aluminium tariff. And then on top of that, then there's the Taiwan semiconductor kind of like issue.
Yeah.
Basically, he's trying to say that he wants TSMC to sell their business to Intel, and then yeah, something like that. It's just very messy at the moment. And now TSMC is gonna like do like some sort of meeting with the US on the 11th and the 12th of February. So yeah, things are gonna be getting hectic, and he is the one that is gonna be moving the market a lot. And I think like someone also did mention that if you are a value investor, you like Trump because he will dump the market hard, and then that's why you can buy it at the bottom.
Yeah,
and then when he reverse, then you can sell it. So yeah, that's one of the people say that. So number two, Malaysia will not be spared. Obviously because we are involved with BRICS, and also we are doing business with China as well. There's a China plus one, that kind of like strategy that is going on. I'm not sure why the Malaysians, they are so positive about China plus one. When the US, Trump is pretty much trying to like reduce Chinese materials coming to the US side, unless the China.
Well, we have one advantage, which is a bit funny, but our advantage is that the goods that we employ for China plus one is not super high tech. So it's going to be low on the priority for the US, which is, I think, a good thing.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Correct. Also. So yeah, like, let's say if I was a Malaysian foreign delegation, minister, whatever, I would just go to Trump and just, hey, look, you have this thing, we would like to help you out. What can we buy more from the US? What can we invest more in the US? And that's it. And the thing is, if I think it's a great opportunity, right? Like I would just go to some of the top Malaysian businesses, startup founders or whoever, and say, look, how can we as a country help you do well in the United States? You just have to bring the money back to Malaysia as well. But you of course hire people in the US and try to work there. I think it's a good opportunity if you ask me.
Yeah, and that is basically your the third question that you answered already. What will the US buy more from Malaysia?
Well, I think because they want to like stop the trade deficit bleed, I think that shouldn't necessarily be the language. Like, hey, the US, can we make more goods for you to buy? Because in Trump's head, that would be like money flowing out of the country to Malaysia, right? Yeah. So what we should do is we should say, okay, what can we do to stop Trump from trying to stop this, all the money that we're getting from the US, because it's good, right? We generate revenue from the US. And then how can we, in essence, say, look, let's benefit the US by, opening businesses there and contributing taxes there. Because at the end, even we pay taxes there, we help grow the US, budget, right? Their revenue, their tax revenue. But then we still get more profits. And if we can say, hey, Trump, look, if I go there and I can set up a business that makes $1 billion US dollars, right? Taxes in the US are quite high, 25-30%. So the US government is going to get 300 million US dollars in taxes, let's say. But then the Malaysia will get 700. So I think there's a great opportunity for especially Malaysian businesses who think that they can do well in the US. So they should just try it. And the thing is, I feel like if all you have to do is just show some effort. Like, hey, President Trump, you want to do this, do that. Then he will delay. He will say, Malaysia, we don't touch. Yeah. So then you continue to work. Maybe it work out, maybe it doesn't. You do feasibility study. You keep going. You keep showing Trump progress. Like, okay. Then maybe after 4 years, you forget. Then done.
One good thing is that at least we got a glove maker, which is Supermax, is already establishing their plant in the US. So at least there is like there's a start with Malaysia and the US. Probably they can strengthen some relationship over there.
Yeah. So 4 years is very fast. So we just have to if you're not interested at all in the US, just do these things just to delay to make Trump happy. If not, actually try US. I mean, the US is the biggest consumer market in the world. So if look, I wish we had a US oriented business as well, that we generate revenue from the US, because we'd be 10, 15 times richer, you know?
Yep. So yeah, to end this, there is an article on from John Belson on Lee Kuan Yew's cane and also Trump's tariff. Basically, the story it is that in the 1980s, Singapore, there's a lot of like illegal immigrants that came into Singapore. So how did Lee Kuan Yew solve this problem? Is that basically he say, you know what, why don't you just cane? And you want to cane it hard and pain that is unbearable.
Correct.
So then there are people like asking, so you cannot be possibly caning 10,000 people, right? Then he said, no, he doesn't. He don't need to do that. He only need to cane 2 or 3 people. Only. That's about it. It's basically like some sort of like a scare tactic, and it's what Trump is doing.
So what people don't understand about what's happening about the US is because, you know, most people's knowledge with global economics start when Trump came into office. That's how they start. So they thought that the world was peaceful, it was like a heaven on earth, and then Trump came in and disrupt the world with tariffs. What people actually don't understand is, since the end of World War II, the US was half the world's economy, was half the world's manufacturing, something like that, or more actually, right? So the US then tried to rebuild the world through giving money, and the biggest way the US tried to rebuild the world is by giving the world access to their market. Historically, the US they had all these tariffs, they had all these trade barriers, and they don't trade so much with the world because they don't need to, right? Their economy that's big enough. They just need to trade with each other and then it's fine. Now, what happened is that because of the end of the war, and now they are the only superpower standing, they basically tell the world, look, we will lower all our trade barriers and make it easy for you to access our markets. And then you guys just basically sell to us and we'll give you the money because we have money, right? And then by you selling to us, things that we used to do, things like shirts and whatever, now we can outsource, right? Warren Buffett still owns Berkshire Hathaway. When he bought it, it was a struggling textile mill, right? Why was it struggling? Because the US has opened their markets to the rest of the world. So now US companies can buy textile super cheap in Vietnam or Japan or whatever, right? So what happened was, then a lot of US businesses who are also very powerful want to go into these different countries to set up shop, to diversify. They want to have international exposure. But by doing that, they would almost decimate the local economy, because some of these US companies are they're very powerful, right? So what these other countries did, was to set up trade barriers, right? Whether it's through legal means or through tariffs, through quotas, whatever it is. Okay. Now, then if you are the US, like, that doesn't seem like it's fair, because we give you access to our markets, right? Why do you put all these trade barriers on us? But the US, like, you know what, you guys are so small, it doesn't really matter. So we just let it go and then it's fine. Now, fast forward 50, 60 years, Japan, Korea, and then China, Taiwan, to a much lesser extent, Malaysia, everything, still have all these tariffs and trade barriers. For example, we have a trade barrier on US cars, for example, right?
Yes.
Perodua and Proton are protected industries, right? So now the US economic share of the world has dropped from 50% to now about 25%, which is still a lot, right? So now, when you know this story, then comes in Trump. Then you understand why he's doing what he's doing. He's basically saying, look, you guys have all these trade barriers on earth, right? Amazon and all the big US companies can't operate in China. There's all sorts of this. The EU also has its own tariffs and whatever. So why can't we put on our own tariffs? So on that context, that's what you need to understand. So based on this article, that's what I believe he's trying to do. Because once you create a reputation, then people don't do it anymore.
Yep, exactly.
Potentially, who knows?
So that's about it. And this is our Firepost January.
Not too bad. Actually, global is up finally.
Yep, it's up 2.5%. Malaysia portfolio is up 46%. Considering that there's a lot of market uncertainty, we still are making profit. And it's only down like very minimal only if you compare between December 2024 to today's one. And the bond portfolio obviously is still very steady. It's about 11.5%. Now, we added one more infographic over here, which is the dividend yield based on each of these companies we own in the borrowing portfolio. So you can see that one of the company, it is as high as 14.4%. There's also a few companies that didn't really pay out. They are like 0%. Some of them are like 1 to 2%. But we expect them to pay in the coming few quarters very soon. So if you are interested in each of these portfolio, borrowing portfolio is more of a dividend investor, conservative investor. And there's a lot of like research houses also right now, they think that the catalyst for 2025 is going to be dividend. So if you are interested in what are the names inside this portfolio, you can check out FirePro. But if you want to know what is our best idea, it is our FirePro Malaysia portfolio. So this one is where we share our deep dive analysis on companies, their management, their risk, their numbers, valuation, all of those good stuff. And also we'll top it up with some of the exclusive management notes that only share to the members.
That's right. That's right. It's only share to members, and we get this information faster. So we go to briefings, which are usually semi-private, right? They only invite certain people, but we feel it should be meant for everybody. Some of this information, so we get invited, and we get very fresh, not to say unknown information, but known by very few people. And of course, some of these few people are our members.
And also we initiated some of the stocks inside FirePro, and it's making money right now in the times of like very uncertain. So if you want to know more about FirePro, you can actually read our free sample. There we show you guys how we write our write-ups. So that's about it for today's video. See you guys next.
Bye-bye.